Do a little rinse from the decanter. Rinse it, I'll give you mine. This is how we do it. Now let's talk about a...
So this is a
what?
big old...
This is the Pego. Now this is the Cuvée Laurent 2004. This is their Cuvée, their top Cuvée. It's $129 US. So not an everyday drinking wine price point. 95 points, Wine Spectator. Very, very sought after wine by collectors. Tell me what you think about this project. These guys, give us a little feedback.
You know, Pego, all cuvées are made from the same blend.
Okay. Yes.
So that's mainly
Selection
Grenache, 70% Grenache, and then some Mourvèdre Cinsault and Counoise and some Syrah.
Have you ever had 100% Counoise wine?
Oh yeah, and then that I had once a Counoise wine that I said okay, it's okay, but the problem with Counoise is it lacks structure.
It's a nuance grape.
Flabby and it's very difficult to make a wine on itself on Counoise.
You don't see it coming anytime soon.
It's different from, I think it's different from Syrah.
Yeah.
Because Syrah, depending on the vintage, and it's not too warm, I think Chateauneuf du Pape can make a good Grenache-based, or a Syrah-based wine.
Right.
And do never compare that with Northern Rhone, then you make a mistake.
Sure.
I hear wine geeks say, "Oh, if
no
you
way.
compare that, no, you cannot compare that. It's different Syrah." So
the Syrah in Northern Rhone is a totally different animal. It's like the big leagues. It's kind of like, it's like somebody's very good at golf or tennis, and they think they're as good as a professional.
Yes.
You have a friend that's really good, the best golfer in your friends, and then he goes and spends $10,000 to do with the real pros, and they recognize immediately they're in a different place. I think that's what happens with the Southern and Northern Syrah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
This wine is aged for 36 months.
Right?
And usually it goes on demi-muit, and demi-muit is a 600-liter barrel, but old, so it's not...
How often do they change it?
No, actually this wine, this 04, I saw myself in a foudre.
Okay,
so it
no
was,
kidding.
So actually it was aged in a foudre the last years, and so maybe it's slightly different. I had this last year, in the beginning of last year, and I was really impressed. With
Are you traditionally a Pégao fan?
Personally? Yes, because of the different style. Although I have to.
Gotta be honest here.
Yeah, I'm honest. They are a non-destemmer and no compromise. Never destem.
And you're very passionate about destemming.
No.
Okay.
No, but some vintages, I think, when you would have get rid of some part of the stems,
so I like what you're saying here. You're saying you're not so romanced by destemming. You feel that it should be vintage by vintage.
Yes.
And this is how I feel about politics, life, sport. I mean, I like where you're going with this. So what you're saying is it's not so much that you're so interested about destemming. You just feel every vintage needs to speak for itself. And there's certain vintages where the fruit doesn't come in as much that, you know what? You can't, hey, pick out. Don't draw a line in the sand and, no, it is impossible. Every time everything's in, why don't you try to make the best wine you can every year, depending on the weather and Mother Nature, instead of having a line in the sand?
You pin it. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a very, I feel like that's a very good place to be globally.
Yeah, and you see that's the same as young wine. Many young winemakers do sometimes vary the destemming also depending on the vintage. Just so a lesser part of big vintages, they maybe just to add some specific flavors when they see the stalks are ripe enough because it adds some structure.
Yeah.
And if you just add 10%, 15%, that can make wine.
I think many more people need to think about stemming and what they include into the final blend more so than what they do afterwards.
Yes.
I think there's a lot more. I think Mother Nature and the terroir and the ground can do a lot more for you than a lot of modern winemakers think.
Yeah, that's true.
I really do. All right, let's give this a sniffy sniff because I've been sniffing it and it's fun. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you. You're sniffing some barnyard.
You know, it's funny. I mean, people like to talk about like hay. You know, this really smells like hay.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, my dad had 2 cows and a pig once. You know, so I grew up with some animals here and there, and this smells really like when the hay collects some of the pig crap and it mixes together, and you're picking up.
There's a very rustic nose.
Very, and it's also got I don't know, you know, kasha. My grandma used to make me, you know, Russian people, we eat kasha. I don't know what it is, grain or some sort of, I think it's kasha. I've seen it on boxes in the stores. It smells a little grainy kasha, like, and that's where that hay comes from. But there's also fruit here.
Yeah.
There's a big boatload of red fruit coming through.
You know,
Go ahead.
04, that's maybe interesting to because in 04, Laurence put 1 hectare of white.
He blended.
They lacked some volume, so they add in the 2004 for all wines. They add 1 hectare of white.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So a little Roussanne in here.
Yeah, there's some Grenache Blanc.
Oh, Roussanne.
Grenache Blanc, some Claret.
Any Roussanne or no?
No, a little bit. Yeah, she does have
But
a
mainly
little bit.
Claret
Yeah.
and Roussanne and
And the
Grenache Blanc.
Grenache Blanc. Especially in the
I had a great Grenache
cuvée, the Reservé, you taste the kind of silkiness.
that comes from the
I
white
think
wine.
that's
And
coming from the
aromatically.
white. Yeah.
I had a great Grenache Blanc at the Boston Wine Expo, where I saw you the other day. I did a Lirac Blanc in my tasting, and it was really interesting.
Lirac is doing very well.
I think it's
High
a
quality.
and for the money, you can buy great Lirac wine for $15.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a very cool subject. All right, let's give it a whirl.
You take structure, solid, the rustic experience. You get really, at first it gets you the structure, and then you get immediately the dark fruits. And then the flavors are very intense.
Yeah.
In the mid palate.
Yeah.
Very building. You get some and that's what
You get smokiness on the mouth.
yeah. And
Right?
yeah. There's some just before the finish that you get some kind of smoky flavor, and I wonder where this is coming from, because it, you know what there is some criticism by some wine lovers, and they say old foeder they tend to provide too much of dry and a kind of-
Herbaceous, dry
yes,
fruit.
and bitter.
It has
bitter
it.
finish.
It
yeah.
has it. I mean, it definitely is a little bit of a bitter finish. I mean, it's definitely there. I could see proponents, you know, or opponents of this kind of style being a little bit worried, because it does have an austere, kind of awkward, dried, you know, floral, kind of almost potpourri, green pepper kind of finish on there. But for my palate, I like that a lot.
But I think you need to decant this at least 6 hours.
You think
Or
that
you-
much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Picot,
I understand.
Reserve,
I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, this is a very premium wine. This is a top cuvee, expensive wine. Big, I agree, dark fruit was what caught my attention. Almost like blueberries on the mid palate
Yeah.
that I thought were quite interesting.
And you see that because of the intensity, the structure, it's difficult to dig in to find subtle nuances. You know?
I agree with you.
And that you get that
As
by
it opens
decanting.
up.
Yeah.
And what he means by this is almost like a steel box. You know, instead of like a wood chest where you could kind of like creep in there, this is like an ironclad, you know, safety deposit box. Throw out the lock. You're like, wait a minute, I want to get some fruit. I want to taste some subtle things, but you can't get in there. You know, like a big bodyguard at a New York, you know, hot club. You're not getting by, big man. 6'9", you're just not getting by him. Look, no, it doesn't work. I do like this wine. I think that there's a lot of serious structure in this wine. It's the first thing that came to my mind. It was the first words out of your mind. You're able. It's kind of like classic art. You know, and art can be attributed, or music. You know, you can go to opera or symphony. You may not like it, but you have to respect it.
Yes.
It's there.
Yes.
And this is, you know what I mean? And this is not necessarily, you know, it's kind of like this is very, very well made.
Yeah.
But it's got a style.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody. Though I do think that this is an extremely attractive wine, especially I agree with a couple more hours of decanting in a very serious food environment. To me, this wine, more so than the prior wine, is the kind of wine that I would pair if I was having a very special dinner with Lizzie and we decided really, really cook. Not that either one of us can cook. Oh, jabbed her. I enjoyed that. But if we were cooking, this is the kind of wine I would really like to see with 4 courses, just see it evolve, big meats and different things of that nature.
The beautiful thing is that in between these
two
styles
wines
are so many.
Well, that's what romance you
styles
about the Chateauneuf du Pape, right?
Yes.
And I think that's a very great way to start wrapping this up. We have 2 very distinct styles, and the amount of kind of like a lot of wines go from here to here. Different wines in the world. Malbec, for example. This style, that style. For me, this part of the world, these wines, there's a whole lot of wines that fall in between. And I think that ability to work up the ladder, where the rungs, instead of a ladder, it's like stories, I think that's quite intriguing, and I think has a lot of wine drinkers very romanced by this category. I really think Chateauneuf du Pape is going to continue. I think Barolo and Chateauneuf du Pape over the next half decade to a decade, as I can see, it's then it gets too far out to really predict. But I would say those 2 categories will continue to pick up market share from new drinkers and wine collectors.
That's right.
How would you like to wrap up? What would you've got this opportunity, you're speaking to a lot of people that have not delved into this category, and a lot of experts.
I think that's the main reason why I wrote the book is not just to write down what your opinion is. It is a very objective book. My book is about education. I wanna show people that there is more behind wine. Wine is not
just a label and a score.
Yes. And that's why you can dig in a book and you can find in detail what you want, or just superficial, everyday. Everything is there.
It's a big book. It's a big book for just one little part of the world. I mean, that's a bigger book than most wine books,
yes.
And you're just talking just of Chateauneuf du Pape.
Yes.
Well, listen, Mott, let's link that up. Let's link up a link to Philippe Combi. I think that'd be fun for people to get a little homework. We'll see if he has a Wikipedia or not. I'll work with you on that in a second. And I can't thank you enough for being on the show.
Well,
I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
I really did. So, our tradition on the show is you get to ask the question of the day.
Okay.
So any question you want, could be about wine, could be about Chateauneuf du Pape, could be about
the Jets.
Sure, could be about the Jets if you like. If you just be
How
careful.
do you feel?
Go right there. No, not me. You're asking them. I'll give you answers off the air, but you're asking them. They'll leave comments. Go ahead.
Okay, I think I met Jerry before the Mets lost.
Wait. You said Jerry and the Mets.
Gary.
I'm Gary, and it's the Jets. That was the greatest moment in wine life. I met Jerry Seinfeld before the Mets Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
I already made that mistake in Boston. So,
I know.
So my question is, how much do you like that Gary is in love, passionate, unconditional passionate with the Jets? With the Jets.
You're about to get some good answers because there was a lot of people ribbing about too much Jets talk. So I can't wait to see the comments. My friend, thank you for being here. Thank you for writing such a special book.
Thank you, Gary.
If you have any interest, you should definitely go to Amazon and check it out. It's a very serious project. You, with a little bit of me, and Jerry, and the New York Mets, we are changing the wine world.